All right, what's up, guys? It's Kyle, also known as the Panda Man, with another episode of Unlock Your Inner Strength. Today, I got a very special guest, Barbara Majeski. She is the CEO and founder of the More Life Collective, famous TV personality. So, Barb, thank you for taking the time to be with me today.
I like the word famous.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
definitely.
take it. I'll take it. No, thanks for the opportunity. We speak the same language, so I'm looking forward to this conversation today.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I've been looking forward to this. Been a fan of yours for since I came across you on Instagram. So you're putting out some really cool stuff and inspiring a lot of people. So why don't we start with Barb? Like, tell us a little bit about where you grew up. You know, did you play sports, or what would you do growing up? Did you grow up with siblings? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I was born in New Jersey, so I'm a Jersey girl, my friend. I was an only child for 4 minutes, and surprise, the only person that I guess knew what was really going on was me. I have a twin brother. He was born 4 minutes after me, and then 3 years later, my parents went to have their third. They thought they were having a single baby, again, a second set of twins.
Wow.
So, yeah, twins do run in our family. My mom's a triplet. So my grandmother was like, there's not one in there, there's two. I'm the only girl. So I have a twin brother and younger twin brothers. We were raised in New Jersey. It was definitely, I always call it grown up Schwartz. There's like, it was just a lot of chaos, a lot of fun, a lot of, setbacks, trials, tribulations, as everybody's life journey is. But it was good. It's a good story, put it that way.
Amazing. So where in New Jersey were you guys?
So I was born in Livingston, then Marlborough, and then ultimately went to high school in around the Princeton area. I spent a year out in California when I was in middle school. That's a whole nother crazy story. But for the most part, I'm a Jersey girl. And as soon as I had my first son, I was like, I know where to raise my kids, and it's back in New Jersey. So that's where you find me. I'm at the Jersey Shore right now. I have a home in Princeton and a place in Tribeca. So
Cool, very cool. Where down the shore are you?
I'm in Stone Harbor. Do you know where that is? Do you ever come down here?
Now, I've only been to Stone Harbor like once. Pretty much driving through it. Actually, I went to my buddy invited me for a couple nights stay a couple years ago down there. But one of my brothers just bought a place in Beach Haven, and then we got good friends that have a place in Lavalette, so we go down all the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
LBI is great. And I grew up going to Lavalette with my best friend, who now is 2 streets down from me. So, all good stuff happens.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So with the twins, that's got to be, I wonder what the stats are on that as far as having two sets of twins. I mean, it's got to be astronomical.
Well, now it's more common because a lot of, fertility treatments.
Yes,
But in my generation, it was like a total anomaly. But when twins are in a family, they're in a family. Like my cousin gave birth to twins. I have 3 kids. They're all singles. I feel God gives you can handle. And God was like, yeah, we're just going to give her one.
Yeah. And how old are your kids now?
19, 17, and 11.
Okay.
And I'm loving it. I'm single now. Got divorced a couple years ago, and that's when I got into TV. And I survived cancer a couple years ago. So I've always been I've always been an advocate of good health, but now it's at another level.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that because I was seeing that in 2015. That was a big year for you as far as and all that. But before we go down that road, tell us, like, when you were growing up, did you play sports? Like, what were your hobbies as a kid?
I'm very sporty. I love sports. My twin brother was the athlete. I mean, he played D1 soccer. He was like a little, he was like so my twin brother and I are the same height. We're both 5'3". So he was not a big guy, but he was the fastest thing you could imagine. Like everybody wanted to watch him play. Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to get the dog?
Get the dog out of the room.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought he was outside. All right. Okay, good to go. So we'll continue with that.
Yeah. So I swam in high school. Varsity as a varsity swimmer. But I'm a sporty girl that is not afraid to. My friends made fun of me yesterday because they started a beach volleyball game and I got in. And at first I was like, oh, I don't, I'm not going to play. I'm just going to watch. And they're like, this is a girl that the night before a triathlon shows up for a triathlon. They're like, you're just going to sit and watch the volleyball game. And I was like, those are fighting words. And I got in the game. I'm like, yeah, I am the girl that's like, oh, that looks like fun. I'll try that, because I have to share. My philosophy is I would rather try failing than fail to try. I'd rather just try it and see if I like it. And if I don't, I'm good with being like, I'm going to tap out right here. But I would rather fail in the pursuit than fail to pursue anything. So yeah, a little bit of swimming. I worked a lot in high school because I put myself through college. So I've always been a little more industrious. But yeah, sports were more of like, let's go to the Giants football game. And every Sunday we were a Sunday football family, obviously with 3 brothers and my dad. So I was raised with that, like get on the jersey and get in the game. So I have a lot of philosophies on sports. And
yeah, no, that's cool. Really cool. I love that, failing to try rather than failing, to even attempt it. I love it. So with that, where did you go to college?
So I went to Towson. It was Towson State 100 years ago. Now it's Towson University. I studied health education. Believe it or not, although until like this chapter of my life, I really didn't do a lot with it. I was a personal trainer through college. I taught aerobics, but I ultimately went into sales from college into sales because I wanted to. I don't know. I just got into something that was lucrative. And I was very driven to kind of build my personal wealth. So I didn't have to, so basically I could take care of I have a brother with special needs. So in this second set, not only do twins run in our family, but a genetic component called Fragile X, my brother has, which is a genetically inherited form of neurological impairment. So I always wanted to do well for myself financially so I could ultimately take care of Steven, because I grew up with the fear that he would be institutionalized. And this is the time that Geraldo Rivera had that expose of the institutions. And I was like, that's not happening to my brother. I'm going to have to do well so he won't be institutionalized. So yeah, I studied health education, went to Towson, took 5 years to graduate. And the funny thing I think about me, Kyle, now, as I think I don't know. Are we the same age? Are we in the same?
I'm 41 right now.
No, we are not the same age. I got 9 years on you. I got 9 years on you.
You look younger than me though. So.
No, you look good. You look great actually. But I no longer, force that narrative onto my kids, go to college, get a good job.
Yeah.
I am not on that. I think that is a trope that has run its course. Yep. And for many people, that is 100% the pathway to success. Go to college, get a good job. That is for you, but that is not for everyone. That is not the prescription for everybody. And it should no longer be. Like, college is one track, but there are so many others. And I think we have to stop lining ourselves up in this pecking order of like, oh, they have their master's degree, they're smarter, they're better than us. Nope. I think that there are so many ways to live an abundant, prosperous, happy life. And there is not go to college, get a good job. That narrative is done. I'm done with it. I wish somebody had said that to me, because it took me 5 years to graduate. I was a terrible student, but put me to work and have me like rolling up my sleeves, doing the work. I'm better than 90% of the people out there. I'll outwork anybody.
Yeah.
But, regurgitating information and testing. I was good at testing like SAT stuff, but I don't know. Tell them where the ulna and the radius and how that connects into the blah, 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 blah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I agree.
It didn't matter for somebody who wasn't becoming a doctor. That wasn't my track. I wasn't motivated to be a doctor. I was motivated for other things. Exactly. Anyway, there's your question about college.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. What's up, Braxton?
Daddy.
My assistant, Braxton. Say hi.
Come in. Let me see. Oh, hey. My assistant just walked by, Melina. How old are you, Braxton?
I am 7.
All right. Very mature for your age. Great. What grade is that? Second?
Going into second. Right?
I'm going into second.
Wow. Good job. And this is Melina. You want to come over and say hello? I'm doing a podcast. Where are you, miss? Where's the queen?
Hey, Melanie.
Hi,
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How's the beach? Good?
Yeah, it's really good.
Nice. Nice.
And this is my youngest. She's 11. And what grade are you going into, Queen?
No. Where is she?
You're the king. You're the king. This is the queen. She's going into 7th. So
7th. Okay. Yeah, Brax is our oldest. We got 7, 6, and 3.
jeez,
Right
you're
now.
in it. I wouldn't trade that. That's hard work. You're in it. You're in it. This is my final. This is my final queen. 2 boys and a girl.
You're blessed.
Yes, you are as well.
Thank you. Did you want to tell me something?
Yeah, that we got the blue ball, the yellow ball, and the orange ball.
Okay. Thanks. Shut the door when you go out.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, it's down in my thing on the thing.
Yeah, so with the college, I said that when he was born, I told Devon, my wife, I said, unless there's something very specific they need to study or want to study, I should say, or get an athletic scholarship, I said, I'm not sending them to college because I agree 1,000%. I'm like, it's what everybody does, but why? Because that's what they were told to do, right?
It is a social construct that we don't even know has run its course. We just sit there, we do our 529s and we put our money away and and next thing you know, Gabe's like, my oldest is in college now. All 3 of my kids have money to go to college. That I'm not indoctrinating them into this is your path. I even took my oldest son to flight school. I was like, let's go take an introductory flying course and see if we want to learn how to fly. He did better than I did up in the sky. I was really bummed. I was like, I wanted to go to sleep. I was like co-piloting. I'm like, I just need a nap, the air pressure. But the key is to allow them the expansiveness in their minds to know that you are not beholden to that narrative. And the only person nobody should make you feel less than. That's their narrative. It's not ours. This doesn't belong in this family. You are to do good in the world, leave this world a better place than you found it. Find your passions, work hard, be accountable, because when you find something, you dig your teeth into it, man, you can, what you're doing with fitness, just find your lane.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear, because people just kind of, I always, one of the philosophies I live by is if you don't know what to do, just look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. Somebody else, that has children, think that way.
And be proud of whatever you do decide. What is it? Go do something. I'm trying to get actually Gabe works. That's how I got Gabe and Max, and they both work at different places at the shore. And I'm trying to get Gabe actually because he doesn't love what he's doing. I'm I think it's run its course. You've learned everything over there, but you can't leave. And number 1, until you find something else. And number 2, leave on good terms because you got to play the long game in life. It's about who you know and what they're saying when you're not around. So you have to understand that every relationship has value in your life. So be respectful. But I'm go into construction. This is what I'm go into construction because I think what the narrative is construction is blue collar. And without construction, you don't learn how to build a house. If you want to go into real estate, you want to be a developer, then learn about flooring, learn about landscaping, roll your sleeves up and get in the trenches and learn it from the ground up. But I think we just have the wrong messaging out there, and it is totally toxic of you're going to learn everything in college. My kids couldn't hammer a picture onto a wall. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot I could go off on that. So
it really is. And, me and my wife were both teachers. My mom was a teacher. So a lot of educators in my family, but even when I was teaching, read some books, but John Gatto, I believe his name was, but the whole system, I believe, right, is based on the Prussian model, but it's really just sit in your lane, sit in your row, don't question, just this is what you should do. And that's, I think, a huge problem that we see now, right? People don't think for themselves and they don't question authority, right? But when you can think and do something like a blue collar job, my buddy that's got the house in Lavalette, I mean, he crushes it, and that's what he does. Yeah. He oversees construction, NYPD stations, and it's unbelievable what this guy does with his life.
And it's all about when you're doing something, do it with the value of I want to learn this, then I want to keep growing and I want to keep learning. I want to stay curious. I want to understand this so I can move on to I just met my neighbor and has a multi-million-dollar home down here, beautiful. And he's like, I'm a builder. And it's so funny. I'm like, he almost like puts it down. I'm just a builder. I'm like, dude, like, wow. We just have these, I don't know, these narratives or these social constructs that I'm trying to be part of. Like, that's all crap. And you know what? Question everything. I think sometimes in education, we are making employees, we're trying to get everybody to fall in line, regurgitate information instead of question information and stand tall in the pocket. Don't be a sheep, be okay. And we had that through COVID. My kids were not vaccinated. They were actually medically exempt from the vaccine. Believe it or not, I had exemptions for a long story. And we were treated like lepers. And I was like, I'm vaccinated because I had to get back on TV. But I felt really proud of my kids that they stood tall with that decision. And it wasn't easy. People were not nice to them.
Oh no. Yeah.
And I was like, we don't try. I'm not doing it. You didn't have babies yet. You ain't getting that thing in your thing and you ain't going to develop. No, there's not enough information. There's not enough data. All these people on the TV sets reading off a script. Who wrote the script? I don't know. Yeah. And it was a really good lesson. I'm like, it is okay in this family to ask questions, to be skeptical, and to use your critical thinking, even if it is not popular. I've taught them how to be unpopular.
Yeah. Well, that's such a skill, though, right? Like the judgment is so powerful in people's minds. People are so sensitive to brain, right, to judgment. And that's what you saw with COVID, right? With the masks, everything. Everybody, like a lot of people disagreed. From day one, I knew that what this thing was about. But it's like for your kids to stand up and you to support them is huge. Because again, most people just said, we'll do whatever. Just give us back our normalcy, and now you see.
And then they didn't. They took away our normalcy. They took advantage. I'm really proud that they accepted that I wasn't going to fall in line for them. Right. It wasn't easy. We dealt with a lot. People were shaming us. I got terrorized online and my kids saw it. And I showed them like, words don't kill, honey. Sticks and stones. Yeah. They break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I felt like, I felt really good. I felt great about it. It was not easy, but I was playing the long game of like, you need to learn how to stand up for yourself, especially when it doesn't align with your values or what you think is in your best interest. And you have to be okay with not being liked and not being, being unpopular and standing tall in the pocket. So
huge. Great leadership. Good job. Great job.
Thanks.
So from that, when did you decide? I want to figure out the timeline here that you wanted to be a TV personality. Was it after cancer or was it before that?
So you'll like this story. So growing up, like everybody's playing like easy bake ovens and dolls and pushing carriages around. I am like grabbing the hairbrush and being like, live from the jungles of Africa. And I'm playing business. I want to be a leader. So they're like, let's play mom. And I'm like, yeah, I want to like rule the world. So I always wanted to be in television. But slowly I just think I knew my confidence ended up getting eroded and my perception really shaped my reality. My perception was you had to be pretty to be on TV. You had to be smart. You had to be perfect, this perception. And I was like, not in line with that. I remember reading this book on beauty by Christy Brinkley, who I love and I'm a huge fan of. But at the time she wrote this book on beauty and it was like, your thigh gap should be this and your face should be symmetrical and I'm reading this, I'm going, I'm not 5'8" or whatever she was. Not only do I not have a thigh gap, my thighs are smooshing together. Symmetry in the face. My eyes are two different colors. My eyes are two. I had symmetry 0 as soon as you got to my eyeballs. I couldn't even make it past the eyeballs, much less like the rest of my body. So I was like, oh my God, I am not beauty. And beauty is what. So slowly that little girl that had all this confidence to grab a hairbrush and like tell, stories from the crypt or whatever, became too insecure and doubtful. And I was like, nope, I'm just going to go do other things. And I studied health and then went into direct sales. So I became a sales manager. And then in 2015, on the heels of like my marriage falling apart, I got diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. So I was 42 years old, I had 3 kids, and I didn't know it, but I knew it was a late stage cancer, but I didn't realize how bad that experience was going to be. I was like I was like, they give the toughest battles to the strongest soldiers. You got this. Like, I was like, if that girl survived cancer, I'm surviving cancer. I was like, cancer got nothing on this girl. So I have 12 rounds, and about the 8th or 9th round, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have this. I'm like, I don't have this at all. I'm like, this is where my story ends. I had this moment where I was like, oh my God, every chapter in my life is every chapter that I've had is every chapter that I will ever have. If this is where my story ends, there's no more pages to fill in. And I reflected on a lot of things, Kyle, that I was super proud of. But I also looked at all these things that I never even bothered to pursue. And I was so angry. I was like, I'm not done. Like, I was bargaining with the Grim Reaper. I was like, dude, just pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. I got a few more things to do on this little planet Earth and this body. You could just hold your horses for a few more minutes, because there was so much undone. And when I looked at all the things I hadn't done and finished and like left on the big smorgasbord of life, I made a vow that if I got to the other side of cancer, I would never play small again. I would never let the voices of fear, voices of self-doubt, those mean voices that told me I was not pretty enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't tall enough, I was like, I would no longer dance to that tune if I got another shot. That I would rather be in the pursuit and fail miserably and be in the arena than not try at all. And by the grace of God, because chemo and this girl were not a match, I finished my treatments. And I'm a woman of my word. And I was like, all right, Babs. And Babs is my badass bitch self, BABS, badass bitch self. It's like, all right, Babs, what you gonna do with your big plans? What you gonna do? And I was like, well, I always wanted to be on TV. And I think I have more to offer this world. And then keeping myself like in this tight, small bubble. And I was like, let's do it. Everything Kyle became, let's go. Let's do it. Let's try it out. What do you have to lose? Da, da, da. Like, I have become this, like, leave it all. Like, I'm a totally different person. Not totally, I'm just a higher, better expression of me than I was. I was a little lower vibe expression. And then, I was like, well, I'm a higher media trainer. And at 42, I'm sitting there, and this is a great lesson. And then I'll stop talking. It's a great lesson, because at 42, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go into TV. And I'm like, I probably have to start at the ground floor, and I'll probably have to be a coffee runner, for some 23-year-old producer, because I have nothing. I have nothing in television. And I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm like, I'm a student. I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to run coffee for any 25-year-old producer. I checked that box. And then I was like, I'm probably going to have to report from like some no name station in the bowels of New Jersey talking about some dumpster fire or a cat, like something, whatever, like obviously not hard hitting news that I would have wanted to. This is what went through my mind, Kyle. So I humbled myself over the 25-year-old producer who had ranking over me. I was like, oh my God, what are people going to say? And I was like, I heard myself, oh my God, what are people going to think? And what are people going to say? And I heard myself run that cassette, but it was the first time I heard that. I was like, oh wait, I no longer care what people have to say. I realized I had no jurisdiction of the way other people were going to judge me. And I'd rather give people something to judge me about anyway. And because I had to let go of that fear and oh my God, the weight of other people's opinions is so important to me. I was like, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. I'm in the arena. It's the man in the arena. And when I became very clear that that was a dumb thought that it was so unproductive. I was like, swipe left. I'm doing it. And I don't care. And I go on TV and I mess up, Kyle, all the time. And it was like my nightmare. I was like, what if I mess up? All the time. All the time. I went to go say sorcery the other day. It came out saucery because I'm from Jersey and I couldn't fix it. I was like, that is not the right word. And that's not even a word. I was like, saucery. Even my kids were like, saucery? I was like, sorcery. But when you're from Jersey, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So I don't use that word anymore in my, Anyway, that's the teach of you get clear with what bullshit you got going on up here. You can purge it and make space for more abundant thoughts, like more prosperous thoughts, like, fuck it, I'm going to go live my best life. And Kyle, I do this shit that people are like, what is she doing today? I'm like, I just throw myself out there all the time. I went out on a catamaran. It's just like so many stories. Like we were out in St. Martin. I was like, I want to go sail a Hobie cat, like this little Hobie cat. My boyfriend's like, you don't sail. I was like, well, no better time to learn. And my thought was like, what's the worst that happened? I can jump off, swim back. They have to come get us on the jet skis. We have a story. I'm here for the story, Kyle. I'm here to make a fool out of myself.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant. I mean, you have so much there, that so many lessons, like you said. So with that, right, you talked about earlier with the lack of confidence early on, right, at some point. How did you, when you overcome the cancer? I want to go over that more too. But then how did you start flipping that script in your mind as far as the confidence? Because that's something that most everybody struggles with, right? Is this imposter type syndrome? How did you overcome that?
I think we're all a work in progress and a masterpiece simultaneously. I think when I got clear that other people's opinions of me was none of my business, because I think confidence heavily also sometimes resides on like the perception of how other people, and letting that go. And I think I honestly think becoming more authentic and stop trying to fall into social constructs and what was right and what was wrong. I abandoned a lot of judgment. And when you suspend judgment of others, because you're like, you come to understand everyone's battling something you know nothing about. And when you start becoming more compassionate or more curious, you choose curiosity or compassion over judgment. You all of a sudden, when you extend that energy out into the universe, you also give it back to yourself, and you really remove these blockades that obstruct you from living at a higher expression of yourself. You don't realize it. Judging other people only hurts you because it is a reflection on what you can block. Let me use an example. So I was walking on the beach, and I was looking at these beautiful oceanfront properties. I am not oceanfront yet. And I'm like, God, look at that house. That is beautiful. I'm like, I wonder how they did it. I wonder what they did. And I'm like, I wonder what they built it with. And I'm immediately very curious. The person next to me was like, must be nice. Who do they think they are? They think they're all that. Like they have all those cars and they just show off. And like, I was like, the person in the house isn't hurt by your bullshit. They're still living their best life while you're sitting there being an ass and you're only blocking your own self. If you could shut the front door, just shut up and say, because curiosity is it opens up like, I wonder, and that wonderment and that curiosity. And like, I hope I get to talk to them because I would take an interest in how do they do that? And the curiosity, like the happiest people, Kyle, are those who are in a growth mindset and stay curious to learn about 1,062,000 things out there. But you choose your shit. But unless you become conscious of your own bullshit, you are only sabotaging you. You did not hurt that person with the nice cars and the great lifestyle and the beautiful blah, 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 blah. You only hurt yourself. So why don't we just stop that? Stop it. It's not working for you. It's not becoming. And guess what? It must be nice. It is nice. Okay. And I would like to have an unobstructed view of a sunrise every single morning. So I'd like to find out what he did. So maybe I can do those things you have to do the things. If you want those things, you have to do the things they did to get what they got. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to do the smart things. There's a quote for you.
Yeah.
So I think confidence comes from abandoning judgment, getting curious, and having the humility of like, maybe don't know, but I can learn. You can learn. If you put enough effort into anything, you can learn anything. You want to be a scientist, you want to be an astronaut, you could learn it. You just have to be that interested in it, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. So shifting kind of these are these underlying saboteurs of confidence is actually being a judgy idiot. You don't know, like you're just like you're hurting yourself. Person's living their best damn life while you sitting there being an idiot.
It's amazing,
right?
It's incredible. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's so much wisdom.
Like think about it, Kyle. Somebody's in great shape and they're walking around the gym. Now, I think women in their 40s and 50s and 60s, 70s that look great, I'm inspired. I mean, not that I'm not inspired by the youngins, but when you've had a couple kids, life has thrown you your dumpster fires and you're still like taking care of your health and your vitality and your fitness. Because when you're physically fit, you can be very mentally strong.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, bitch, be like, bitch, how'd you do that? Why don't you get curious? Because if you do the things she did, you change the diet, you change your discipline, you change start up here first because you're check yourself before you wreck yourself. You can have everything you want if you're willing to do the work, right? What'd she do? What did he do? Do the thing. That's it. That's the map. I just gave you the secret to success. Do the things. You want the things, do the things.
That's it. It's that saying, success leaves clues. Like you said, you don't have to be the smart. Just do the smart thing.
Get curious. What the hell you eating, lady? Look at you. You're 70 years old. You're doing like side crow and yoga. I want to be you. Don't do this. Just everything comes easy to her. Let me tell you, nobody in there after a certain age is fit and healthy by accident. Like, no. Yes, in your 20s, sometimes you're genetically gifted, but you got to like stack your own deck once you get a few babies under your belt.
Yeah, so brilliant.
Right? Are we talking the same language?
1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, this is the stuff I'm into, like the inner dialogue that you're talking about. That's one of the main mind map things I work on myself, right? But you're so aware of it, and then you've actually applied it, which is brilliant. Because one of the guys that's coaching me, he talked about that this year, where it's like, and I still find it, right, where the ego wants to come up. Oh, why does that guy have this success? And I'm catching myself like, what is that? Celebrate their success, just like you just said.
Yeah,
it's leaving clues for you.
Absolutely. Right? And comparison is the thief of joy. You want to fuck yourself up, start doing that. I just heard a really great, this is the best. I'll send it to you after this conversation. So Jesse Itzler tells this really great story where he's running, did you hear this?
No.
He's doing like this ultra marathon. And excuse me if I destroy a little bit of it, but I will give you the original context. It's so good because when he like hits the 70-mile wall, his mentor is like, when you go into that hydration station, you tell everyone you're outstanding and you never look at me. I never get tired. I never get tired. And that wall was something that really held him back. So instead of going in like he was like, no, you high five everyone. You tell everyone you're outstanding and that you never get tired. And sure enough, it like pushed him through. So all summer, it's like June nothing. And I'm like all into summer. But I come down to the shore and I'm back into my yoga and I'm doing a bunch of things. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not where I was. And I'm like, Kyle, beating myself up. Because remember, we're all a work in progress and a masterpiece simultaneously. But I'm like, oh, Babs, you really just no bueno. And I heard it and I was like, nope, Babs, you're outstanding. Look at you, 50 years old in the yoga studio, sweating, doing the thing to get the things. You're doing the work. I kept saying, you're outstanding and you never get tired and you're a beast. And I started just saying these things to myself instead of being like, oh my God, it's so hot in here. Oh my God, I'm just not where I was. And I'm not as bendy. And I shifted that and I was like, look at me in the game, in the arena. And I might not be where I was, but I have that muscle memory that I'm like, oh, I will get there because I'll do the things to get the things. And I'm telling myself, like, you're doing the things, lady. Like, you're outstanding. You're out at, as soon as I tell myself I'm outstanding and I'm a beast, I'm like, chaturanga.
It's so simple, right? But it's like, there's a book, I don't know if you've ever read, it's called Conversations with God. It's a book I go back to often, but he talks about within there, the process of creation, right, is thoughts, words, and then actions. And it's always being able to, like, you're brilliant at catching your inner dialogue, where most people just let it run, right? They just let it go. And all of a sudden they're in this hole and they can't get out. It's like, just change your thoughts and then your words, how you're talking to yourself, and you're doing it in real time,
Oh, yeah.
which it's awesome. It's very inspiring.
And also letting people know that as much as I've grown, I still have growing to do. And I'm still learning from other people and then taking things that information does. Hold on. Yes.
Yeah, all good. All good.
Hey, Migs. Hold on.
All good.
Okay. Okay, I'm on a podcast. Hi, handsome. Just give me, I need like 5 minutes. Okay. Now hold on, handsome. I gotta finish up. Do you want to you can come in and stay downstairs. I just have to finish. Oh, no, I can feel fine. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All good.
Where was I? Oh, I do want to finish that stream of consciousness because we're all like, I'm always growing. I'm always learning. I'm always like, yeah, I can do better, but it doesn't mean I'm not great. I don't beat myself up because I'm not where I'm like, I gotta, you gotta keep working at it. Anyway, I just ran up the stairs. I'm out of breath. Woo.
With, I want to be mindful of your time too, in case, you got to run, but there's so many things that you said, like I've got notes here, which is amazing. Real quick, can you talk about like the shift in mindset when you overcame cancer? Because then you said you really started getting it. I know you were a trainer before that, but then you really started becoming conscious of your health. Like, what were the big changes?
First of all, my dad had colon cancer and he had it in his 70s at stage 0. I had it at 42, stage 3. The difference between me and my dad is my dad would never touch fake food. My dad would never touch anything diet. He would eat butter and we'd be like, use margarine. He'd be like, no. He always had this aversion to fake food. I'm sitting there with SnackWells and all these other things that honestly, I think we're cancer food. Sweet and Low, Splenda, Equal. They all say on the packet they cause cancer. And I think I fed a predisposition cancer food. So I've become more of a clean eater. But I think what really shifted more than anything is going back to what you're just talking about, is like your thoughts. I really started to clean it up here of, and getting very intentional with what I wanted. Like if I was going to get a second shot, I became very intentional of what a good life would look like. What does that look like? What does that mean to me? And it came down to what I saw as a good life required me making very intentional decisions in the now that were very hard, very difficult. I had to make some changes so that I could have the life that I wanted, whether that was, going through a divorce, being very specific about what I would eat and what I would drink. So I became very conscious of what I wanted, what I was doing in that prior to that experience wasn't going to get me what I wanted. And when I got really clear with what I wanted, I had to look at what I was doing and if it was in alignment. And if it wasn't in alignment, I had to start making changes and be responsible and not be a victim and not like I was like, you know what? You are in the driver's seat. I became very I had to make some tough shifts, but these shifts have led me to where I am. So I think, that's really where the story is I had to do that checkup from here and get very clear about what I wanted, and what I was doing had to be in alignment with where I was going. And that was very, very huge. But I did want to go back to one thing before we wrap.
Yeah.
You brought up like thoughts equal to words. So it's so crazy. I think there's so much synchronicity in the world. So I'm reading this book about habits, and it talks about the power of words. Like words are so strong in how you communicate to yourself. And if you change narrative, so like if I say to you in the book, it says this, it's not Atomic Habits. It's not the name of the book. I forget the name. I'm just reading it because I like it. That he's like, if you say to yourself, don't think of the Statue of Liberty, your mind doesn't hear the word don't. It hears Statue of Liberty. Next thing you know, you're floating in, whatever, out there at Ellis Island looking at the Statue of Liberty. And it's the same thing. Stop looking at what you don't want. Start looking at what you do want. Get clear on what you do want. Stop beating yourself about where you're at and this and that. You're at where you are because of the decisions that you made. So stop blaming everybody else. Whatever shitty place you're in, you're there. You're not going to change it unless you start changing what you're doing. So start looking at what you want. Stop bitching about where you're at. Start looking at, all right, where are we going? Because if you want to go to the Statue of Liberty, start thinking about the Statue of Liberty. If you want to have a great body, start thinking about what that looks like for you and start doing the things you need to do, and stop being like, I don't want to be like this anymore. Stop. It's not productive. Start focusing on getting intentional about what you want, and the things you're doing are going to, because it's about the do, right? Information doesn't lead to transformation. Action does. So I love that thing about words, because it was like, oh yeah. So what are you saying to yourself? Are you like beating yourself up about where you're at? Or are you like, oh my God, you are doing the things to get the things. So.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you got so many good, headlines and great one-liners. I was jotting down. I think, as we close up with this one, the universe is speaking to me, because one of my best friends, he's got a gym out in Chicago. But he talked about that yesterday in one of his stories, where you got to focus on the vision, not the obstacle. Now you're saying the same thing in a different way, and I just think it's amazing. Really, it is. I mean, and people, I'm inspired by it. Like I usually when I do a podcast, it's rare that I ever tell my wife about it or try to get her to listen, but she's definitely this one. So tell people, Barb, like,
yeah,
definitely maybe in the summer we could do part 2, because I got so many more questions about your mindset and everything. I think there's so much other stuff that people can really learn from you. But where can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to follow you? Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that you run?
Yeah. So I launched the More Life Collective community, which is it's a community completely about taking action. Just what I said, information, inspiration doesn't lead to transformation. Taking action does. We set daily non-negotiables through challenges, resets, and in-person retreats, all designed for you to move from information to transformation through action. So the More Life Collective is for anybody that has struggled to finish what they start, don't know where to start, struggle to stay motivated, they lose inspiration. I've got every tool in the toolbox to get you from where you are to ultimately where you want to be. I'm so passionate about the More Life Collective community to help people optimize their life. You can find me on Instagram at Barbara Majeski, on the interwebs at barbaramajeski.com. And you definitely should follow along, because a lot of cool stuff is coming in to the More Life Collective, as well as through the Barbara Majeski lifestyle brand. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, you got me inspired. I want to join one of your programs. I mean,
you should. There's so much opportunity in the collective to grow within the collective too. So
I think I'm going to take you up on that, because I come across a lot of people, but you really have some deep wisdom that you're applying. That's the thing. A lot of people have knowledge, but they don't apply it. Right, the wisdom is when you apply it, and so I'm looking forward to learning from you, Barb.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for this opportunity. It was amazing. Yeah. You will do part 2. I'm open for it.
For sure, I'll be getting this out there. I'll be getting you all the links. Let me just bring it to a close. Give me 1 second.
Yep.